You hate them, right? Maybe they hurt you. Maybe they betrayed you. Maybe they deserve it. But let me ask you something. How often do you think about them? How much of your time is spent replaying what they did? How many conversations are you still having with them, in your head? And be honest, who is that actually hurting? Because while you think you're holding on to power, you're giving them space in your mind every single day. So the real question is, are you punishing them? Or are you slowly destroying yourself? Hatred doesn't feel like weakness. It feels like control, like you're holding on to something real, like you haven't let them get away with it. And that's why it's dangerous, because your brain rewards it. Every time you replay what they did, every time you imagine what you would say, every time you feel that anger again, your brain gives you a sense of certainty, a sense of power, even if nothing actually changes. And slowly, you stop living in the present and start living in that moment, over and over again. You think about them when you wake up, when you're alone, when something reminds you, and without realizing it, they become part of your daily life, not because they're still there, but because you keep bringing them back. And that's where it turns, because now it's not about what they did anymore. It's about what you're doing to yourself. You're feeding something that only grows when you give it attention, and the more you feed it, the more it takes. Your focus, your energy, your peace. Until one day, you realize something uncomfortable. They moved on, but you didn't, because you weren't holding on to them. You were holding on to the hate, and it was holding on to you. It started with one moment, one thing he couldn't let go of, a comment, a betrayal, something that stayed in his head longer than it should have. At first, it felt justified. He had a reason. Anyone in his place would feel the same. So he replayed it, over and over again. What he should have said, what he should have done, how it should have ended. And every time, it made him feel something. Anger, energy, control. So he held on to it. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And without realizing it, it started showing. In how he talked, in how he reacted, in how quickly he got irritated. People noticed, but not in the way he expected. They didn't see strength. They saw tension, distance, negativity. Conversations got shorter. Invitations stopped coming. Slowly, people stopped being around him, but he didn't connect it. Because in his mind, he was still right, still justified, still holding on for a reason. Until one day, he looked around, and there was no one left to be right in front of. No one left to prove anything to. Just silence. And the same thoughts playing in his head, over and over again, about someone who wasn't even thinking about him anymore. At first, it didn't look like hate. It looked like focus. He just wanted to prove something, to show he was better, to show they were wrong. So he worked harder, stayed longer, pushed himself more than anyone else. And for a while, it worked. He was getting results, recognition, progress. But there was something else growing with it. Every success wasn't about him, it was about them. Every win was a response. Every step forward was fueled by something negative. And slowly, that started to leak into everything. He became harder to work with, more impatient, more reactive. Small things started triggering him. Conversations turned into arguments. Feedback felt like attacks, and people noticed. At first, they tried to understand. Then they started keeping distance, until eventually, They stopped including him at all, not because he wasn't capable, but because he was exhausting. And one day, it caught up to him. A missed opportunity, a promotion that never came, a conversation he wasn't part of. And suddenly, all that effort didn't matter, because the way he made people feel outweighed everything he did. And that's when it hit him. He didn't build something. He burned everything around him trying to prove a point to people who had already moved on. Not all hatred ends in lost careers or loneliness. Very often, it ends in tragedy. She couldn't stand looking at her, the attention she got, the life she seemed to have, the way people admired her. It started as jealousy, quiet, private, something she kept to herself. But over time, it turned into something darker. She watched her, compared herself to her, built resentment in silence. Every success of that other woman felt personal, like an insult, like proof that life had chosen someone else. And slowly, that jealousy became hatred. She started talking about her, then attacking her, then looking for ways to bring her down. At first, it was words, rumors, cruel comments, small things. But hate doesn't stay small when you keep feeding it. It grows. It escalates. Until one day, it stops being emotional and becomes physical. A confrontation, a loss of control, a moment of rage that lasts seconds and destroys lives forever. And when it's over, there's no relief, no victory, just shock, police lights, blood, silence. Because hatred promises power, but very often it ends with someone ruined and someone else gone. Hatred feels like something you control, something you choose to hold on to, but it doesn't stay that way, because the longer you keep it, the more it starts shaping you, your thoughts, your reactions, your decisions, until one day, it's no longer something you feel, it's something you've become, and by then, it's already taken more from you than the person you hated ever did.